Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Ishil Nadeem, your host for the BCBJT podcast. Today we have an episode celebrating Women's Day, and for that we have a really special person. Miss Kanwal Khan, she's a powerhouse of talent. She is the CEO of Lotus Education Network, Director of United Charter School Expo Campus, Cambridge subject trainer, transformation consultant, and a dedicated therapist. She's all in one. From shaping young minds to supporting emotional well-being through her Lotus Wellbeing platform, she's redefining what it means to lead with heart and vision. Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Kawal.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me here.
For today, our podcast focuses on themes around women's empowerment, education, and leadership. So, considering that, I would start with some sort of a personal question. Throughout your journey, what has been the biggest challenge as a woman in leadership and education and overall career that you chose, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I think as women, your biggest challenge is to not allow yourself to be typecasted. It's so society ne it's already decided for us what our roles are and how we need to operate in those roles, and being able to just break free of those, half the challenge, in fact more than half the challenge is that
Yeah.
to be able to allow yourself to be something more than what others expect you to be.
Yeah.
So that I would say that would be the biggest challenge. It usually comes across in ways where people may not take what you say seriously, or they may not expect you to actually come through on something that you've said. Especially if you're young, it's harder to be taken seriously back then. When you get older, like where I am now, so I use that like mom power now, so it's different. But I would say those are the bigger challenges where you want to be taken seriously, and that's not how people wish to see you.
Yeah.
And as for overcoming it, honestly, the answer is just resilience. You have your goal in mind, and then you just become like a horse with blinders and just keep walking your path, regardless of what somebody says or somebody thinks. And there's this old proverb that we often have heard, that you should listen to everybody, but do what your listen to your heart. Listen to what everyone says, but do what your heart tells you. So I think that is something that was always at the core of what I did. I would listen to all the advice, but I would make my own decisions, and I would make my own choices, and then I would stick with them. And like I said, more importantly, it's important to remember that the journey can be long and it can be hard, but giving up should not be an option.
All right. Yeah, I think definitely we forget within this women empowerment and feminism that first step to ho jata hai. You've entered a corporate ladder, you've entered the school, or you've entered the space. Like, and how to claim that space within the male-dominated society, right? That's where so many people get stuck, so many women get stuck because they just don't know how to make themselves heard. उसकी वजह से वो subordinate roles में रह जाते हैं. They're unable to climb the ladder, etc. Yeah, right. So my second question is that many women look up to young role models, right? एंड विद इन दैट हमारे पास दो बहुत ऑपोजिट स्कीम्स होती हैं. एक है जैसे आजकल बहुत चल रहा है ट्रैड वाइफ वाला कॉन्सेप्ट, जो आप बहुत ज्यादा ग्लैमराइज और रोमांटिसाइज करते हो एक्सट्रीम अमाउंट ऑफ डोमेस्टिक लेबर. यू से दैट नहीं करियर तो चाहिए, इट्स ऑल फैमिली एंड मैरिज एंड एवरीथिंग. एंड देन ऑन द अदर साइड वी हैव अ वेरी extreme in career and ambitions, and you're like nothing else matters, it's only my career and my ambitions that matter. So considering that, do we need a balance in the first place, or are we imposing some sort of unjustified burden on women to balance these two? And if we do need a balance, how do we achieve that balance?
I firstly feel that these two stances are more fabricated by media than the actual reality. In actual life, women are always walking a balancing act. They're always balancing, no matter what relationship you are in, no matter what role you are in. These are, I think, once again, I feel like they're propagandas to typecast women once again. And that's one of the reasons why I don't watch a lot of Pakistani dramas, because if you are a good woman, then that means you're somebody who's always subjugated, somebody who's always focused externally on what others want from them, somebody who's being beaten and dunked and trodden upon, and then that makes you a nice person. And if you're career oriented, or if you're a confident woman, then they'll always show you as being someone evil, someone who's not interested in family values or
like western dressing का मतलब है आप evil हैं, और eastern का मतलब है
career oriented हैं तो फिर आप बिल्कुल बुरे ही होंगे. So I don't think these are realistic representations. I think women are always doing a balancing act. In fact, a lot of women in the society just with working women hai,
Yeah.
and in the education sector we find a lot of them. Teachers are like all females,
Yeah.
and they're all balancing things.
Yeah.
They're working, they're taking care of their homes. So that is always happening, and it is in, I think, it's wrong to actually assume कि नहीं हो रहा होता. Unfortunately, in therapy we have a concept in which we say that um, people usually want to feel good about themselves
Yeah.
at the expense of what they don't have, or what they don't have they envy, and then we try to put that down. So in this case, sometimes women become their own worst enemies, because you'll find
Yeah.
housewives, which I want to call homemakers, looking
Yeah.
down upon career
Career
women,
women.
and working women will look down upon homemakers. कि, oh, इनको
Yeah.
तो कुछ नहीं आता. So in that need to feel relevant, I think we've just made the playing field hard for ourselves.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is the balancing act is always there, and responsibilities, whether we like it or not, there are some things that go with the job basically. So if you're a woman,
Yeah.
then you're a mom,
Yeah.
and you're a wife, and all these things come with a certain element of responsibilities, and whether you like it or not, that's how you are.
Yeah.
Men are oriented differently. When men leave the house, and this is something I have thought about, and people can differ with it, but I feel that they were wired to leave.
Yeah.
They would have to go on wars.
Yeah.
So they were wired to just walk out and then not look back, because otherwise you can't really fight on the battlefront if you're worried about what's happening back home.
Yeah.
It's not the same for women. When we leave our homes, we take everything in this huge baggage with
Yeah.
us. So we are always multitasking.
Yeah.
We're always playing a balancing act. And these things, I think, उनको burden के बजाय अगर हम as a part of who we are देख लें, so it's easy to embrace them.
Yes.
So yes,
Definitely.
there shouldn't be excessive burden. There shouldn't be expectations कि हर वक्त हर चीज perfect हो.
Yeah.
But then there shouldn't also be a complete disassociation also.
Yeah.
Okay, why should I do this? It's
Yeah.
the way nature has made us. Some
Yeah,
things are in
definitely.
our DNA. वो हमने करनी
Yeah.
ही करनी है, whether we like it, whether we don't like it, whether somebody else thinks we should
Yeah.
or we shouldn't. It's gonna happen. If you're a mom, then you are gonna take care of your baby. There's just no
Yeah.
two ways about it.
Definitely. And when you're trying to compare yourself with the men in your household, I think you may just doing an obsolete job. You're doing something which does not really count, because you're so different. बेशक आप accept करें ना करें, your nature and everything, your responsibilities are so different that comparing just becomes a pointless job, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So women often face self-doubt or some sort of an imposter syndrome within their families or corporate workplace or school. So how do you feel that? How can we overcome that? How, as a woman, can you feel relevant without putting yourself in something that you should not be putting yourself into?
So I think there's two questions in here, right? One,
Yeah.
you're talking about not feeling that they deserve.
Like not feeling
position.
relevant and feeling like an imposter syndrome within
So
places.
that I don't belong here, or I'm
Yeah.
not worthy of
Yeah.
this. So this is something you can't really address very quickly, because ये चीज भी एक generational है.
Yeah.
So women have been told repeatedly that they have to earn their position, they have to earn their place in society, in homes, and it's just there in the way we're brought up. Also, I grew up with sisters. I have no brothers, but I have seen households where there is a lot of discrimination from the birth, in the way the male child is treated, in the way the girl child is treated. So ये चीजें आप, they're not something that you're consciously doing. They're something that are embedded in you, and you just go through it. You just walk with that feeling. It's like a cloud on your head all the time that
Yeah.
I'm not good enough for this. I'm not good enough for
Yeah.
this. So when you do arrive somewhere where it's important, then it is normal to feel that oh my god, I don't deserve this, or I shouldn't be
Yeah.
here. So important thing here would be to, I think, understand that you need only your own validation,
Yeah.
and not look for that externally.
Yeah.
And that is actually true liberation,
Yeah.
where you don't look towards others to validate or to give you some kind of affirmation.
Yeah.
And that comes with self-awareness,
Definitely.
that you have to first want it, be aware of it, and then work towards it. And just like everything else that I've talked about, this is also not one of those easy things. आप एकदम
Yeah.
transform नहीं होते. It's a one step forward, two step back kind of a thing. You understand your patterns, you understand how your thinking works, and then you try to consciously fight that urges or that feeling, orient your self-talk
Yeah.
the way we normally are, like, oh my god, I knew I was gonna mess this up anyways. You really are in that. Okay, all right, let's see how we can fix this.
Yeah.
So it's a slower process, and it starts inwards, and then it starts coming outwards.
Yeah, I think that can be the case for both genders, right? For men, we can say equally they might feel self doubt or imposter syndrome or something of that sort. So yeah, I think both genders should sort of work on these self
Yeah,
affirmations in this long term process.
true.
Moving on, mental health.
अच्छा, sure, sure.
All right. All right, so moving on, we often feel that mental health is often overlooked within especially South Asian communities for women. So, how do you think women can balance multiple responsibilities in a way that their mental health does not get compromised? And what message would you give to women for prioritizing self care, and how should they prioritize self care?
So look, mental health has a bad stigma. And in our society, it works for both genders actually.
Yeah,
You will not find either gender very receptive to it. The concept of mental well-being is something that rose in COVID. Before that,
yeah,
it wasn't there, and it became such a huge reality that it trickled into our lives also. Otherwise, एक Western concept था और वहाँ तक ही
yeah,
limited था. But since now we are a more global world and we connected in so many ways, this has become part of our lingo, part of our part of our self awareness and self concept. So mental well being is gets a rough um, a bad name for most people because
yeah,
it's seen in our society, it's seen as being indulgent, as either being lazy.
yeah,
So first of all, I would say to women is don't try to convince anyone. Yeah, but we will come back to the same thing. Don't look for validation and affirmation. Don't look for someone else to tell you, oh, you need to take care of yourself.
yeah,
You have to know that you need to take care of yourself. Just a plane में जब हम जाते हैं तो they tell you that if the oxygen falls, they tell you that the first thing you do is put the mask on yourself and then help the baby,
yeah,
because you have to be in a good space before you can help the child.
yeah,
That's how it works in this case also. If you are not a healthy, adjusted human being, your relationships will be impacted by it.
yeah,
So you should not be waiting for someone to tell you that you need to take care of yourself. And then again, the message to women from the get go has been put yourself aside. Put yourself
yeah,
aside. Others come first. And it can be anyone: your mother, your father, brother, husband, then children. So
yeah,
it's the message that's been given down generations that don't put yourself first. And I'll be fair here to the male gender also कि ये messages उनको भी मिले हुए होते हैं.
yeah,
It's not just the women, even men get the
exactly,
same messages. Okay, think of the family, think
yeah,
of others. पहले उनका सोचो, उनका
yeah,
करो. So they're burdened by these things also. So generally, as a society, we don't believe in putting ourselves first.
yeah,
And वो फिर चीज पास हो जाती because that's what our parents did. Then they expect
yeah,
us to do the same. Then we will expect the same from our children. So somebody has to break that cycle.
yeah,
And again, that will start with your own awareness that I am important.
yeah,
Don't wait for someone else to tell you that
yeah,
you are important, and if you want to feel good about who you are, then you need to be the one to take those steps.
yeah,
Nobody will make that space for you. Nobody else will come and tell you that, oh, I think you need a break, this is too much. It's not even that people are being mean. It's just so easy and
yeah,
normal. If someone's there to take all the burden, you just let them.
yeah,
तो कर रहा है तो उसे करने दो.
exactly,
So you have to be the one to put yourself first, and only then will others follow.
yeah,
So your mental health, you have to first take ownership of it. I am the one responsible for myself. When we start looking towards ourselves for everything that we need, that is when it becomes easier to do things the way we want to.
yeah,
जब तक हम एक्सेप्टेंस ढूंढ रहे होते हैं या अगेन वैलिडेशन ढूंढ रहे होते हैं, ये भी माइंड ना करे, उसको भी बुरा ना लगे, हर एक को कैसे खुश रखना है. Unfortunately, being selfish takes on a negative connotation
yeah,
in society, but being selfish is not always a bad thing.
yeah,
It's just being able to recognize where you are feeling depleted and to
yeah,
just call a stop there.
yeah, setting boundaries sort of,
And yeah, set your boundary and be able to say, okay, look, this is as far as I'm willing to go,
yeah,
and I'm not going beyond this point.
yeah,
So that's basically boils down to mental well being.
yeah. All right. So breaking these barriers, breaking these stereotypes often involves a lot of courage because a lot of times you're the first woman or the first girl. Like in our generation, a lot of times we are the ones who are breaking those norms within our family because maybe our mothers and our grandmothers were not able to do so.
True.
Maybe in generations after us, it would be more common, but right now it's not very common. So how do you think how can we bring that courage and how can we sort of make that courage consistent कि एक कोई हमारे ऊपर barrier आ गया, एक challenge आ गया, हम वापस setback ना हो हमारे ऊपर, because family भी बहुत ज़्यादा करती है. I faced that personally within my family, that I wanted to choose the career that I personally was passionate about, and then my family consisted of all male lawyers, and I wanted to be a female lawyer, so like there was a big barrier for entering into that field, and I was the first one who wanted to do that in the family. So how do you bring that courage and keep it consistent throughout your journey?
I think it's really about whether you believe in yourself or not. All of us do have the capacity and the capability to be able to look at a situation, and we know in our heart, we know whether something is right for us, something is not. Um, and how important is it for you or not? So
Yeah.
I'm assuming you didn't back down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because somewhere along the line, in that scenario, you felt your sense of self was very strong.
Definitely.
Having a strong sense of self is important. What your sense of self is, that inner you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of you, right? So think of yourself as an onion. So there's a core self, and then there are layers of what people have put on you.
Yeah.
You know, the way they want you to behave as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, you know, as a whatever other relationship you have as a student. So a lot of times we are operating in these layers. But at the basic core, there is a sense of who I am.
Yeah.
If you're able to connect with that, who you are, then the courage will most likely. So courage is not about not being afraid.
Yeah.
Courage is about going forward even when you're afraid.
Yeah.
So first you need to understand that डर लगता है. Even when you are at the pinnacle of success, the next fear would be, what if I lose all of this? Fear is always going to be there. Fear is a healthy emotion. It keeps us from doing crazy things like jumping off the rooftop or coming in front of a train. It's how you harness that. So first accept the fear will be there. Make that fear your friend. And understand that courage is to go forward despite it. So connecting with that sense of self, finding something that, in my case, I felt always that I had a connection with God. Yeah. So my spiritual connection and my power, I felt always came from there.
Yes.
And I always felt very oriented. If I could just have those, I would sit in silence a lot of times by myself and just think things through.
Yes.
And I lost that in the middle. Life got so busy that I reconnected with that after a very long time. I realized that that's where I used to get my energy from. So all of us need different ways to kind of channel that energy within ourselves. So if you want to like sit and talk with yourself, or you want to have a friend, or is some mentor that you want, so find some source that's going to help you reboot, help you find that motivation to go on. Yeah. So for different people, it can be different things. Yeah. So the bottom line is finding your inner self. Yeah. And that means sitting down with yourself and talking about, or at least discussing with yourself, what is it that you can give up? Yeah. What is it that you absolutely will not give up? All right. And then just gritting your teeth and going. And I personally do believe that जब आप एक बात पे रख देते हैं ना पैर, then things do start happening for you. Yeah. But that first step, that's the only hardest part. Yeah. Then you will suddenly realize that the scholarship that you didn't know would open up, or some uncle auntie would step in and say कि करने दें बच्ची को. Things will just start happening. Yeah. But you have to really want it, and you have to focus your energies towards it.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone does have a center that they find which connects them. Like for me as well, the center was God, was spirituality. And then when you find your power through something, then you can really sort of ignore the barriers, because if आपको पता है कि for example you have these many rights in Islam, you have this much power that you can get, so cultural barriers or ये सारी चीजें, they do not matter, and you have like the energy कि they're insignificant, you can just go against them easily. Yeah. So within this scenario, we need to talk about men as well, right? How can they support women within this scenario? Oftentimes, men within our society as well just do not know any better. They just don't know कि हमने करना क्या है to support the women around us, because they've never been taught. Especially our previous generations, our fathers, our uncles, our grandfathers have never seen something better, have never seen a better situation. So what do you suggest to the men around us? How can they support the women in their family, and how can they actually get out of any sort of stubbornness if they have कि हमने change नहीं करना? How do they change themselves and change for the better for the women in their family?
To be honest, nobody changes unless they want to.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, even if I were to tell somebody listening right now that, okay, you need to change yourself to support them more, it's going to do nothing unless
Yeah.
they themselves realize the significance and importance of it. I feel in my work with clients now that the younger generation, जो है आपकी 30 plus,
Yeah.
they are more tuned into this. They are more tuned to being more supportive. They view the roles differently. Uh, they're also more self-aware. They're willing to talk about mental health more,
Yeah.
and so they're automatically more open to a lot of things. A lot of times, however, चीजें जो हैं वो we fall back into them unconsciously.
Yeah.
Our behaviors and our patterns. When you find yourself in a difficult situation, you'll often react the way you've been watching other people react, and
Yeah.
conscious reaction नहीं होगा. Most likely आपका unconscious, instinctive response होगा to what you have been seeing
Yeah.
happening. So that kind of connectivity requires a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah.
If they genuinely care about the women in their lives, they
Yeah.
will make that effort. If they are not stuck in getting their superiority through being able to subjugate the women,
Yeah.
then they will be more supportive. And there are men also in the same line as their fathers who have.
Yeah.
So what one way that they can encourage is, so I back in a couple of years ago I did this survey for this company I was working for, in which I
Yeah.
interviewed successful women. And I part of the questions made the question was, who did they think was a huge factor? I think I interviewed about 10, 11 of them, and at least, if let's say there were 10, 9 of them said their dads.
Yes.
One of them said their mom. And I realized then that it was because women are generally, as women, we are very reluctant, or again, we have that fear of taking on the society,
Yeah.
of breaking the norms, of doing something that's out of the ordinary. It's only when the
Yeah.
men, the dads, because men are not shackled by the same, resist the hesitancies or by the same fears. So when the dad stood behind the girls, they were able to project or pass on their own lack of
Yeah.
inhibition to those girls. कि
Yeah.
क्यों करो, क्यों नहीं कर सकती हो?
Yeah.
And a lot of them would tell me कि my mother would say कि इसको खाना पकाना सीखने दें, and my father would be like
Yeah.
नहीं इसको जाने दें, क्यों नहीं कर रही है? So I think the one way they can support is to understand that sometimes women need that nudge,
Yeah.
because वो उनके DNA में इतना wired है to conform that even when they want to, they're not sure. There's
Yeah.
always doubt. So they can lend some of their lack of inhibition and that confidence to the women in their lives and say, क्यों नहीं कर सकते? कर.
Yeah.
So what? You'll end up failing. Yeah, it'll be a mistake. We can always,
Yeah.
take another route.
Yeah.
So just to recognize that confidence in women doesn't come as easily,
Yeah.
and be able to just say those words or be that
Yeah.
anchor.
Yeah.
That's really all they need to do.
Yeah, I think as well that men within generations, our fathers, अगर हम उनसे initially बात ही नहीं करें इस बारे में तो they won't be able to support us, right? If you're not trying to convince them, because I think a lot of women who did say that their dad were very supportive did have this that sort of conversation with them first and tried to convince them that this is the path I want to take. And if we're not really just convincing them initially, तो हम ये नहीं कह सकते, right, कि they're not supporting us. And I think that is a problem कि हमारे बहुत सारे पेरेंटल और चाइल्ड जो आपके रिलेशनशिप है वो बहुत अच्छे नहीं हैं. You won't be able to convince your family because you won't just know कि आपके पेरेंट्स को उनका माइंडसेट है किस तरह का, बिकॉज आपने उनके साथ उस तरह का रिलेशनशिप ही नहीं रखा हुआ. So yeah, like for me personally as well, I had to like convince my uncles and my fathers for like 4, 5, 6 months. लेकिन उसके बाद now they are the most supportive people in my family, right? They are the ones who want to support me the most, want to see me as the most successful lawyer. But that took a lot of convincing. And again, that took a lot of courage, for which you said that you need to have that sort of a center from which that courage comes. All right. So now we will have a rapid fire question, which would be a bit of mix of personal questions.
Okay.
And so, what is your biggest inspiration in your career, and who is your biggest role model in your career?
My career. I've actually done so many things now that it's really. So I had a corporate life, then I went into teaching, then I went to therapy. So any one person is hard because there's so many people I liked in what they're doing. So it's hard for me to pin one person that this is my my role model. But I think the person who probably inspired me way back was the relative. When I was very young, I'm in my teens. So my cousin married this lady, and she came and became part of our family. And she was a working woman, and she was the first woman I had actually seen who was working. She was independent, and
Yeah.
to me, she seemed to have it all.
Hmm.
And I think she became my inspiration. That okay, I can have this.
Yeah.
And for a very long time, that's what I kept in mind, that I want to have it all like
Yeah.
she does. And even to this date, when I think back on that time, I can still see her in my mind. She's passed away now. But I think if it had to be, she would be my inspiration as to the kind of woman I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Maybe not a career, but the kind of person, the kind of aura I wanted, the way when she was very confident and successful, she was running her own
Yeah.
business. I guess I would say she would be my
All
inspiration.
right. So, considering that, is there a point that you reach where you have it all? Like वो point आता है कभी?
I think for women, right, you need to kind of start, you need to keep tweaking the all. Because when you're young, your all
Yeah.
is different. And then you get married and then you have kids. So that all starts to change. So you can have it all, but you need to also be realistic about what would make you happy versus what you think you should have to be happy.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, in my way, if you ask me, I would think I have lovely kids. I have a great relationship with my husband, and I get, my we're a close knit family on my mom's side also, and now I'm running a school as well. But do you ever feel that okay, everything is sorted? No, but I don't think that's also something you should aim for,
Yeah.
because growth only comes in discomfort.
Yeah.
Comfort में कोई growth नहीं होती है. So
Yeah.
the
When you
day
still feel that there is something you need,
there will
then
always be something,
yeah.
because at the end of the day there's something more that you want, there's
Yeah.
something else. So it'll boil down to the kind of person you are. It's quite it is possible to feel self actualized at a state where you don't own anything. You're like, I'm
Yeah.
content with what I have, and history is full of such people who are
Yeah.
happy with what they have. But if you're somebody who wants certain things in life, then there'll always be a struggle to get there,
Yeah.
whether it's financially or as a in your relationships, or for your then your children come in the picture. Then there's something you want for them. So
Yeah.
the goalpost always keeps changing. I think the goal, it shouldn't be the goal to have it all. I know Swat, I felt that she had it
Yeah.
all, but I think what that translated into was that she was able to experience life in more ways than just one.
Yeah.
She was not confined to one role. She was able to exercise the liberty to be more than just one type person, or one relationship. And I
Yeah.
think in that case, it is possible to have.
All right. So, what is one thing you love about your job or jobs? What is one thing you love?
So as a therapist, it is really nice when I see people change. Although it's not a fast change,
Yeah.
it's very gradual. But I enjoy being that person who helps them to sort of have that moment when they go, and it's like you keep walking slowly, slowly, and then you look back and you go, oh my God, I've come so far.
Yeah.
So it's nice to watch that journey. It's nice to see those changes in them. So I enjoy that part. And right now, as a school head, I am really enjoying the little kids. They're so cute. I didn't think I was so nurturing, but they really brought that out in me. So I'm really enjoying interacting with them, engaging with them, and I genuinely want to provide an environment in which I can give them the best possible start. So
Yeah.
they're really adorable. So yeah, these are the two things I'm really enjoying in my corporate life. I just enjoyed, that was my first,
Yeah.
because that was my first career choice. So just being part of that, so everything I've done has an element of helping people.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part, that the theme that's carried throughout
Yeah.
all my professions. So
All
I've
right.
been, every time that's happened, I've been happy.
All right. So, what is one thing you don't like a lot about your job? Like something you don't like very much about your jobs?
The number crunching.
Makes
Everything
sense.
always boils down to numbers.
Yeah.
So that's the very tedious part.
All right. So, one thing, what is one thing that every young woman should start doing today?
I think they should start having a vision for themselves. And that would be the starting point, to
All right.
see yourself as you want to be, and not as you think. अभी भी जब हम So as a therapist, I'll tell you this, that even now when you might be thinking that you're making so many decisions independently, you're actually influenced by so much that has been happening in your life. That's part of your upbringing. There's a lot of generational चीजें pass on हुई भी होती हैं.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is cultural. And so when I went into therapy, when I started training, I went in with the arrogance of somebody who thought, what's there to know about myself? I'm such a self reflective person. I know everything.
Yeah.
Till I actually found out that there was so much more that I didn't know, and that there was so many other forces that were influencing everything that I was doing. It was an illusion when I thought that, oh, I am in control. There's a lot of things that are part of our makeup that are actually prompting our decisions. So having that very clear inner view of who you want to be. So having that vision is important, and having a path.
All right.
And my advice to them would be never अपनी path na छोड़ें. Stay on your path. No matter who comes in your life, no matter what happens, make sure that you're true to who you are.
All right. So, what is one thing that motivates you daily?
And my family, I think.
Makes sense. Okay, so do you have a dream project related to maybe leadership, education, or mental health that you want to execute in the future?
Currently, I'm focused on my school, and I'm trying to actually create an environment where my teachers are also very self-aware.
Yeah.
Because after the home, the second place that the children come that impacts them greatly is the school.
Yeah.
And I think many teachers don't realize even a slightest remark
Yeah.
can have such a lasting effect on how a child sees themselves.
Yeah.
So right now, I really want to be able to create a kind of school where the teachers are self-aware and are emotionally aware of how they're impacting those kids. And I want to be able to see those children leave my school as healthy and confident individuals.
All right. So, last question. What do you think is more rewarding? Pivoting throughout your career or mainly focusing on maybe one aspect of the career most? So, what do you think is most rewarding?
So again, this is situational. So like if I was a guy, I would most likely be very focused on my career because that's what's expected. That's my job.
Yeah.
Okay? At the bottom line, no matter how much you try to glamorize the roles,
Yeah.
the man's job is basically to provide, and वो उस पे focused रहता है. And obviously, when you stay consistent in one role, then it's a better chance to become an expert in it. Jack of all trades and master of none wali situation will take you so far. But if you want to excel in a career, then you will need to stick with it, and you will need to be develop your skills in that direction. But in the world that we live today, it's good to have diversity also, because the future is no longer set, and the roles are no longer set, professions are no longer set. So the ability to adapt should be there. As a female, however, as a woman, I would advise this, and I would say this to all the girls also: is that flexibility becomes it's a requirement. You have to be flexible. This diversity that you're observing in mine has happened a lot of times because I had my first baby, then I had my second one, then we moved one country. And in a relationship, you need to decide which one of you is going to, be the main person. Somebody once said to me कि दो का career नहीं हो सकता, एक का career होगा और एक की job होगी. And I think like somewhere along the line, I decided I'll have the job. Although now that so much time has passed, my kids are older, now I'm also focusing on having a career.
Yeah.
But I think as women, you need to be adaptable and flexible, that your life is going to take you different places.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to work with whatever comes.
Yeah.
अगर आप give up कर दें कि मैं, you can't allow yourself to be stuck in one role. So if I had told myself मैं तो सिर्फ HR professional हूँ,
Yeah.
it was very hard getting back in. And believe me, I tried.
Yeah.
Corporate world is not very forgiving.
Yeah.
I was miserable. So
Yeah.
it was helpful for me that I found something else. तो ये भी एक ना एक्चुअली डाउन साइड हो जाती है अगर हम किसी रोल के साथ इतना आइडेंटिफाई कर लें कि देन इट स्टार्ट्स बिकमिंग अ प्रॉब्लम.
Yeah.
So don't identify yourself with any particular role. Have that adaptability and flexibility. Same goes for the men, because the career professional scenario is constantly changing. The landscape is constantly changing now. AI आ रहा है, कुछ और आ जाएगा, परसों कुछ और हो जाएगा. So you need to focus on having the ability to adapt now. That's the skill set that you need going forward.
All right.
And yes, if you need to be good if you want to be successful, at some point you do need to excel in some one thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't realistically focus on everything.
Yeah.
So best, yeah. So I don't think there's any right answer to this.
Yeah.
So it's mostly situational. But whatever you do it well.
Yeah.
वो जो 10 चीजें भी अगर आप कर रहे हैं तो वो 10 चीजें भी अच्छे से करें. Don't
Yeah.
do them half baked. Because I've seen people like that जो हर चीज कर रहे हैं, the minute things get tough they leave, then they jump into something else.
Yeah.
वहां पे tough हुआ तो they leave.
That never works.
That never works and they never get anywhere also. They're always
Yeah.
floating in that mid range. कहीं ना कहीं you will have to put in the hard work and the sweat and the grind if you need to go up the ladder, regardless
Yeah.
of what your career is.
All right. So, what would be your closing remarks for the podcast for our audience as we end the episode?
I think it's great that we have these conversations because there was a time when they weren't happening.
Yeah.
And although sometimes it may feel like lip service
Yeah.
to have just one day and then decide that, oh, we've done our bit,
Yeah.
at least the talk is happening.
Yeah.
And maybe one person at a time will actually be able to influence the future. A lot has already changed, like you said.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful for a lot more to change in the future.
Yes, definitely, inshallah. Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank you.
Kanwal. It was amazing talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.